Hello, everyone. My name is Zanyah Williams. I am a sophomore environmental science and sociology double major at Spelman College. And today I will be presenting my research on disproportionate heat exposure in Atlanta. So many of you know Atlanta as a very popular city that attracts tourists and new residents. This is how the city got its unofficial nickname of Hotlanta. The original meaning for this nickname referred to the many things to do in Atlanta's nightlife. But in more recent times, the nickname has been more associated with the extreme heat exposure and the city's ongoing heat disparities. This heat exposure affects everyone, but the impacts are more intense for certain communities than others. What extreme heat is a type of severe weather that can cause heat exhaustion, heat stroke, heat cramps, and even death. We can take our current weather situations like this past summer, for example. All across the United States, temperatures were rising, if not already close to triple digits, and there was a severe increase in the number of heat wave occurrences. The picture on the right is of Atlanta, and it shows how heat can get trapped within the buildings, making the inner city warmer than the atmosphere. Now, we ask ourselves, why does this happen? Why is it true that warmer Atlanta areas tend to be predominantly populated by people of color? The main reason for this is the historical context of redlining. What redlining does is pinpoints areas in Atlanta that are considered high risk for receiving funds and investment from banks and mortgage lenders, which makes the cost of living cheaper, but the area unfit for living. On this map, you can see where the most hazardous and declining areas are by looking at the red and yellow placements. And unfortunately, majority of these areas are also historically Black. My research questions for this study is, how does heat exposure change over time and why did it change? And my hypotheses are that the temperature is increasing and that the rise in temperature is associated with climate change, population, and race factors. So now into my methodology. So in this study, I am looking at a 20-year time frame from year 2000 to year 2020. And I'm also looking at three specific factors, being population, demographics, and the average temperature. And so the areas that I'm focusing on in Atlanta are separated by counties. And in this study specifically, I am looking at Fulton and DeKalb County. I am using pre-existing data that was collected using meteorological data from local weather stations, reanalysis data, and information from the US Census data. So first, I'll start with Fulton County and their population change. Here on the chart, you can see that from year 2000 to year 2020, the population has been steadily increasing by decade. Next, we have the demographic change for Fulton. So in these charts, they're separated by the population of people of color and the white communities in these areas. From 2000 to 2010, and then ending in 2020, it is seen that the white population has been decreasing while the population of people of color has been increasing in Fulton. Last for Fulton County is average temperature. For this part, I wanted to look at the annual average temperature for the entire year, but then I also wanted to focus on the month of July, given that July is the hottest month of the year. So on these charts, you can see that the temperature has been increasing steadily in the 20-year time frame for both the annual average and the summer average for July. Next, we have DeKalb County. DeKalb had a very, very significant population increase between 2000 and 2020. And for the demographic change started with the people of color community in DeKalb being higher than Fulton's, and it just steadily increased into year 2020. And then lastly, for DeKalb, these two charts look very similar to Fulton's, which my assumption is because they are right beside each other in Atlanta, but they also show that the temperature is increasing for both the annual average and July average in DeKalb. And so now for my summary and my conclusion. So basically, the current findings suggest that there is some type of correlation, or there may be some type of correlation between annual temperature, the growing total population, and a decrease in the white identifying residents in Fulton and DeKalb County. And that may have a correlation with temperature increasing. So in the discussion, I do plan on continuing this research and looking at more counties. These 2 counties specifically are historically Black, so I am looking into other counties as well. But for right now, the results do suggest there may be a correlation between the 3 factors: resources and acknowledgements. Thank you.